Hi, I'm Dan Grasso, and this is my story. Growing up, music was a huge part of my life, especially in my latter high school years. I started playing music in 4th grade, moved all the way up around 10th grade. I started my own band with some of the guys I went to high school with. We worked hard at it. It was my passion and my idea that this was going to be my career. I was going to play music for the rest of my life. So we kicked it off, and we worked hard, like I said, and we eventually got a record contract. We toured the U.S. 3 times. I've been places and done things that a lot of people haven't done, which is super awesome to me. But with that came a dark part of my life. It led me down the road of drugs and alcohol, and to be honest with you, sex too. And so that took me, 12 years later, band fizzles, and I'm forced to find a real job, and that dream fell apart for me, but it was okay. I figured God had something more for me. I wasn't too close with him at that time, but either way, I knew there was something else down the road for me. So I ended up driving a truck for a while, moved from state to state, eventually sought after a mate, and met someone who lived here in Colorado. So I took a huge leap of faith, and it seemed to me like God opened all the doors for me to move out here to Colorado, continue with the same company. So I moved out here, and immediately things fell apart from the first month I was here. I got into my own apartment. Things didn't work out with the woman that I thought it was going to, and I found myself in a really dark hole. I found myself continually asking God, why did you bring me out here? I thought I came out here to get married. I thought I came out here to be with the love of my life. Why am I here? I'm out here with no family, no friends, no church to call my home. I just fell apart. I really did. I fell apart. I was depressed. I had anxiety issues, couldn't sleep, ended up losing my job out here. Basically was looking at moving back with my parents to another state because things didn't work out here. So I lost my job. I almost lost my apartment. I basically had some worldly possessions and a car. I had no family, no friends, and I'm out here, and my relationship with the Lord at the time coming out here was strong, from what I thought. But ultimately, moving out here exposed all of my weaknesses, and one of my biggest weaknesses was the lie I was living in, kind of having 2 different lives, my relationship with the Lord and my relationship with the world. And it seemed to me, it was like a blunt hit to me that I lived more for the world than I did for the Lord. I moved out here more for a woman than I did to follow God's path for my life. So after things between this woman and myself didn't work out, I immediately did what was most comfortable to me, and that was to, I guess in a worldly sense, party. I mean, I got involved with some of the wrong people, started partaking in drugs again, just going down that same path that my music career had taken me in the past, and ended up, within another month after losing my job and almost everything, I'm out partying, and I end up catching a DUI. And then I lose my license, my livelihood. Now I can't even return to doing what I've been doing for the last 9 years or something like that. And so now I'm faced with an even bigger, deeper, darker hole. Like, all these other things were so detrimental to me that I decided to go out and do what I felt most comfortable, and that comfort led me to even more pain. And so here I am now, no job, no nothing, in trouble with the law for the first time in my life, and clueless on what my next step is. So now here I am in trouble with the law, still no solid job, no anything really, just barely making it by. And instead of being able to go to my comfort zone, because I'm in trouble with the law, I can't do any of the things that are comfortable to me. So here I am, uncomfortable in the face of God, wondering why He brought me here and what He has for me. And so it was in those moments, in my lowest points, through tears, asking God, what do you have for me? Why am I here? What is my next step? That God, I had nothing left, so I had, I believed that myth that God won't give you any more than you can handle. And unfortunately, that is just a myth. And so God gave me more than I could handle. And I had no choice but to lean on Him and to trust Him and to trust in His faithfulness that He'd carry me through, because I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing. I began to look for a church, someplace to call home. I've always, again, had that passion for music and knew that I wanted to assert my talent that God has given me to play music for Him. And so I began looking for a church. One Sunday morning I got up, headed out, following my GPS, because I'm not from here, didn't know where I was going. And I show up late to a church service where I was met heavily by the Holy Spirit. It was an all-worship Sunday, and my good friend Jordan was leading worship, sang a song by Jimmy Needham called "Clear the Stage," and it broke me down. It spoke directly to me, and I knew in that moment that God hadn't given up on me like I had given up on Him in the past. I knew that I had to redeem my faith in Him. I had to renew my faith in Him and trust Him fully. And so it was through that all-worship Sunday that led me to go back to the same church. And I continued to go there and was continually met by the Holy Spirit, and at the same time met by gentlemen in the church who befriended me and took me under their wing and wanted to hear my story and what brought me out to Colorado, why I was here, and poured the love of Christ onto me. And that began to slowly change things for me. It began to give me a hope and a bit of joy, knowing that I had someone else out here, someone who cared about me, someone who I could go talk to. I was starting to make friends. So I just continued on that path, found a solid job, making some decent money. And through all this, never lost sight of the woman I moved out here for, although we hadn't been talking for almost a year at this point in time. I don't know what happened, but we just, I guess it's God's divine hand. We started talking again. And it was real slow going. And I told her where I was with the Lord and that, He's renewing me and He's changing things for me. Things are getting better out here. And so we began to talk, and talking led into Bible study together, maybe once a week, which led into almost every night of the week, enjoying that company, that fellowship that we had with the Lord, first and foremost, and then with each other. We went through premarital counseling, through the church, and God just completely restored everything I knew that He had promised me, just nothing that I believed or grasped onto. And He just totally mended every broken piece of my body. All my life, Philippians 4:13 was and is my favorite verse. And it says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so through this sorrow, through this pain, I'm wondering, okay, I can do this. I can do this. Because of Christ, I can do this. You got to pick yourself up and trust in the Lord and allow Him to carry you, to work through you, to use you, to do His work.